Comixology's dead.
Take two. All right. Long story short, we're on a tangent. All right. So let's go back. Let's revamp what we were saying. Comixology shit. The new update is shit. You want to read the email again, or?
Yeah, we'll just go back to the email.
Okay. So we were talking about Comixology and their shitty practices.
And then the audio died.
Yes, and the audio died. So while Vex gets the screenshot, here he is.
Yeah. To remain in compliance with the updated Google Play Store policies, the option to buy comics, graphic novels, manga, or subscribe to the unlimited plan will no longer be available in the Comixology app for Android. With the release of an app version 4.0.1, you continue to read books in your library, samples, browse within the app, but you'll need to visit the website, Amazon.com/Comixology, or on your preferred web browser to buy content or subscribe to the unlimited plan. 3 ways to get comics: to read in the app, visit the website, buy the titles, and read them in the app. Add titles to your wish list, tap the heart icon, and buy on the wish list later. Access 40,000 comics, graphic novels, and manga inside the app with Comixology Unlimited.
So basically, what this means is, and I'm assuming this is my theory is going to be, you can still use the app to browse comics, but if you want to buy a comic, it's going to send you to the app.
And to the website.
To the website to buy a comic. And like we were saying, the app is abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, the website is abysmal. Okay? Yeah. You missed the whole rant I was talking about how I had to cancel my subscription to Radiant Black because they separate the subscriptions for volumes and issues. So I literally, in order to cancel my volume, I had to literally go on the app, go on the website, physically cancel the Radiant Black subscription, which is by the way, I didn't mention the fact that it was hard as fuck because it showed that I had the issue subscription for Radiant Black and the volume subscription for Radiant Black, but it doesn't differentiate the two. Literally.
Oh God.
So you'll have it. So like let's say like you'll have like.
I guess it would differentiate by price.
No, not even, bro. Like I shit you not on everything I love. Like I literally went on the website and. I literally to click on it. It showed Radiant Black twice, and then it didn't show like if it was like volumes or issues for the subscription, and I was subscribed to it twice, and I had to guess which one I had to unsubscribe to. I unsubscribed to the issues one, so I had to resubscribe to the issues to get my issues every month, and I had to cancel the volume subscription. Like it's so bad and solely poorly like done.
Oh God.
Because a lot of it was on Amazon, and like for you to like do certain things on like the app, it will lead you to like the Amazon thing, and it's so bad because like me and Vex already talked about how shitty, literal shitty, the app after the update is because finding comics is hard, going to something else is hard. Like it's awful.
So like here's my library for example.
Yeah, you guys can't see, but
yeah. So on there you can basically let's talk about like Image 30th Anthology 1 to 12 here for a minute. You can go to more actions. You can download or transfer to via USB. Click for this page read. Read now. Add or remove from collection. Order details. Gift it. You can manage your family library. Deliver, remove from device. You can mark it as unread after you've read it. Then to where's the subscriptions at?
probably should be somewhere.
Books are not hidden.
It's so confusing. Like, why is this that? Like, it shouldn't even not be that hard to make a decent app for you to read comics.
Right.
And I don't even know if there's any competitor for Comixology right now.
There isn't one.
Comics wise, like this is all you have to read comics. And now I understand why my friends go to piracy, read comics online, because this shit. Like, I want to support the industry. I'm still a new comic fan. I love Image. You know, I want to read more comics, but it makes it hard. Like, look at that. Look at that shit.
So this is just my Amazon Pay. So this is everything like merchant agreements, activities, blah 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 blah.
Like, I don't understand why Amazon likes to make shit so fucking confusing. Like, I don't get where their thought process comes from when it comes to making these apps, because like the Comixology app was poor, but I'm sure it had its flaws. Some people can say, but it was finding comics was good. getting to your library was good. Like when the update dropped, getting the fucking library was insane. Like I was so confused for a second. I was like, how I want to read this, but I can't find it. Like it was so confusing. And then like going through and trying to find a comic to read was so confusing, because it sucks. Because one thing I don't like. Another thing I don't like is how it was easier to you to find a specific issue of a comic in the original app.
Right.
But once the update dropped, you actually have to. I do it with TMNT all the time. I actually sometimes have to scroll through issues of TMNT just to get to the current one. And TMNT has like almost like 140, maybe like 50
Oh
some
God,
issues now.
yeah, it's been ongoing for like what 5-6 years.
Yeah, so it's just like fuck, man. Like it shouldn't be that hard for me to read my comics. You know what I
Right.
mean? It shouldn't be that fucking hard.
Yeah, and this is why, like, originally, before I got into Comixology and found it, because we've shilled this app for years, it seems like, at this point, but we can't really, in good conscience, like...
No, hell no.
right now, in its current...
Piracy. I support piracy now. I'm putting on my straw hat. I'm going to find the One Piece. I swear to God. Because it's like... I want to support the industry, I really do, but it makes it so hard, and there's no competitor for it.
Yeah, like I used to read comics online when I first got into like the Power Rangers comics, for example.
That's how read comics online. How I was reading like Hellboy, TMNT, Invincible. That's how I read Invincible for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the comics that I was reading, like Monstrous, Bone, shit like Hellboy. That's probably like the main few. Is where I read comics online because it was easier that way. But once I became an adult and was like, okay, I want to support the industry.
I have adult money and I want to do good.
Comixology and Comixology. One of the reasons why I like this so much is because it made it easy to find comics. Like it was easy to go in order. Because one thing that it's not even just American comics. It's like everything, webtoons, manga, whatever.
Yep.
Getting into
it's one of the few places you can legally acquire the Kingdom Hearts 3 manga right now.
Yeah, like with the issues with getting into a new medium is knowing how the industry works when it comes to marketing and selling. And what I mean by that is, for example, I'll use anime and manga as an example because it applies here. When I first got into anime and manga, I was so confused because I didn't know how the system or the industry necessarily worked. And what I mean by that is I didn't know there were actual seasons for anime. Because when I first got into anime, I would just this is what I tell Vexen this all the time. I miss the younger high school, middle school me because one of the highlights of growing up was just going on a random anime site and looking at a bunch of categories, picking anime, watching it, even no matter how bad it was. That was the joy of my life. Staying up to like 5 on a Saturday, binging an anime that I didn't know about. Because like I remember the first season of anime that I was watching was 7 Deadly Sins, and it only had like 4 episodes, and I was just so confused. Like I was like, wait a minute, like is more episodes? I thought it ended like episode 5. It's just like when I was a noob, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then as I got Crunchyroll and all that, I was like, okay, there's like anime seasons, certain animes every season,
yep.
blah blah blah, shit like that. And that's how anime. And transferring over that to manga, I didn't know about the different magazines, serialized series, monthly shit. I would read. I honestly, truthfully, I didn't know that anime was adaptating manga because one of my favorite anime was Beasley Bub. Mm-hmm. And when I saw, wait, Beasley Bub has a comic? I was like, what? The War God Only Knows, shit like that. I was reading it. I was like, wait a minute. First of all, Beasley Bub anime, trash compared to...
Oh, God, yes.
Pseudo Pearl got the hand on that one, too. But I'm not... You know what I mean? So, like, stuff like that. For example, when you're getting into a new industry, it's sort of hard to understand how that industry works and how you can get acquainted to new stuff. And comics is no different. When I first got into comics, I was so confused about how volumes work, how issues work, how like and this is one of the main reasons why Marvel and DC sort of eluded me was because
do I read the Silver Age? Do I read the Golden Age? Do I read the Bronze Age?
Where do you start?
Do I read New 52, Rebirth, etc.? It's an overwhelming, daunting task. That's why like one of the first services I subscribed to before the Comixology kind of took over my kind of thing there was there was a service called Marvel Unlimited.
I remember that. I never used it, but I heard that.
And the reason I like that is it would tell like the timeline of that run in there. So like so say you're reading X-Men number 1, 1978, whatever. It would tell you like, okay, these are the events that they're in. This is how the path of this timeline works. Go to Deadpool like 2010. It would tell you like every tie-in, every spin-off. You don't need to read this.
That's
you don't.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good, and that's the one thing that kind of as a new comic fan,
Mm-hmm.
and why I gravitated more towards Image was because, and I know a lot of comic friends that I have, they're like, well, that's stupid. You can start at certain places, but it's just like. I don't think that's fair.
You're right.
I don't think that's fair because you guys have been reading comics for a long time, and I'm not saying comics have been around for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of hard to, and even on Comixology, and which is before this shitty update. One thing I liked about Comixology was when it came to Marvel and DC, that it actually showed you like
the time period.
The time period, yeah. And I know even now when I look at the app, it will say like Batman like 1940 to like to current. You know what I mean? Like it'll have like 1,000 issues and shit like that. And
Yeah.
I definitely agree with it. And that's and getting into the industry, like you didn't know like what volumes to get, like where to start. That's why I gravitated more towards like IDW and Image. But even though IDW is doing the same thing with TMNT, all these tie-ins, like
they're
together into the like TMNT universe, the TMNT,
Ronin, Vinica,
like fucking they reference the Ghostbusters crossover into the mainline TMNT storyline. I'm just like, why the fuck would you do that? Most people don't even read the Ghostbusters TMNT comic crossover. So why the fuck would you mention why would Donatello or Michelangelo mention a Ghostbusters character in the mainline story?
Are they bringing back like I think it was like fucking Beetlejuice and TMNT had a crossover? Or,
I don't know, but it was just so stupid, and they would
or
reference,
maybe it was Ghostbusters and Beetlejuice.
Yeah, they would reference storylines and like other like side spin-off TMNTs. I'm just like, why the fuck would you do this? You know what I mean?
I can see like if it was like the Fifth Turtle or the Last Ronin or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that's more like tied into the canonical story. But those spin-offs, like, it'd be like if fucking Boom's like, yeah, remember that fucking issue of like Power Rangers versus the Justice League that we did.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, and that's why I like Image so much, because Image is like more so condensed. I don't know about Spawn. Spawn is still
Spawn is Spawn. That's Todd McFarlane.
Eludes me. But like Invincible, Bone, Monstrous, Rogue, like all this stuff is more condensed and tied in, and that's why I don't blame comic people for being confused. Because like, let's be honest, like Marvel and DC, despite what Yellow Flash, The Quartering, Young Ripper, all these people who hate black people and LGBT, but
Happy Pride.
all those people who complain about politics in my comics, shit like that. Like the whole
you remember when Captain America punched fucking Hitler?
like besides those people complaining about all that shit, like
I want them to take that, and I want them to just have Captain America punch Young Ye or not Young Ye, but like Yellow Flash or the Quartering.
Young Ye is cool. We love Young Ye.
But like punch these people, like just Photoshop their faces on that, please, and then tweet it at Control K1.
As much as these people want to make it seem like Marvel and DC aren't doing well, they're still dominating the market when it comes to comics.
And they always will. Like that's why people that are like, the MCU fatigue is setting in. I'm like, you have 80 fucking years worth of shit for them to adapt.
Yeah. So my thing is, it's just like, it's so stupid. Like, and it still, like, my point, what I was getting at is, putting out is that Marvel and DC are still dominant. And so when people want to get into comics, these two companies are like the big conglomerates. So like, that's like, what I mean? Like, there people like IDW, Dark Horse, and Image has great stuff, but like they're not marketed very well. Like, you don't even know like stuff like The Walking Dead, Invincible, and stuff like that is even Image. Even Spawn. I thought Spawn was Dark Horse for the longest time until I didn't know it was Image.
Right. And it fits within like that Dark Horse meta in a way because it's all like gritty. It fits within that, and you be lying to yourself if you didn't think that originally. Or think it was like a spin-off on a fucking alternate timeline of DC or shit like that. Because it came out around the same time that they started doing like the multiverse. This is around the time of like Sandman and all that, and you were spinning off like the outer dimensional planes. Jesus Christ! You can't, if you can't tell, I've been reading Sandman to catch up for like the to kind of refresh for the fucking Netflix adaptation. But like, it's still wild to me that like Lucifer is one of the two most popular or powerful beings in that fucking
Yep.
universe. But like no, like there's so much in that vein that you could be like, well, maybe he's from this or maybe he's from that. If you don't look at the comic or you don't really think about, you know, it. And this is also a time when there was like 17 different imprints for DC. You know, you had fucking Vertigo, for example. It just now is like part of the mainline DC universe. And now you have Warner Media overseeing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like an even bigger conglomerate over top of the DC conglomerate. And then you have over here like Disney overseeing all of Marvel.
Yeah, so it's easier to, as a casual who wants to get into comics, like Marvel and DC are easier to get into because you already know those characters compared to like Image, who has the stuff out there, but you don't know about it because they don't really market their self because they're very publisher owned focus, which me and you have talked about that we like very much. And the thing is like when it comes to Marvel and DC getting into those comics, it's very hard to. The biggest issue I've seen a lot of people say is, where do you start? As compared to manga, it's like it's easy. Volume 1,
Chapter 1,
boom. But with DC, it's like, okay,
it gets kind of funky when you get to like shit with spinoffs. Like, do I start with, you know, Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball GT, etc.
So it's just like with DC, it's like, okay, the New 52, Rebirth, like what, like because I have friends who told me like, if you want to read Flash, because I love Flash, I love seeing Flash on screen. I love Flash, I love Green Lantern, shit like that. So if I want to read that, I say start with Rebirth, boom, it's for new people. And it's just like another thing I want to mention is like when it comes to like more popular stuff like Spider-Man and Batman and stuff, and which Comixology did more of. Story arcs, and this is what it ties back into what I was talking about with the industry. Is me as a new comic fan, I didn't know that comics actually had story arcs. I thought, I mean, obviously every technically even webtoons can have story arcs depending on, because obviously it's a story, but like manga makes it more clear, like, okay, this is like even, you know, Black Clover, Dragon Ball.
This is the Pain arc.
Pain arc, Android Saga arc, you know, Space Kingdom arc, shit like that. They'll let you know what's an arc and what's not. But when it comes to comics, like,
you can have a week with a self-contained story where like Dick Grayson is getting a bullet shot in his fucking head. And then a week later, you got fucking Batman taking down the Penguin again from like the week prior to that.
And then I know of popular. I know Days of Future Past is a very popular X-Men arc. And I you know what I mean, I know there's a House of M arc. You know, there's
two of my favorites.
Yeah, there's I know Batman has multiple arcs. I know Death of Superman technically counts as an arc. But that's what I'm saying though. Like
Court of Owls.
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, it's hard to know like what's an arc and what's not when it comes to comics compared to like. Even Invincible, you know what arcs, you know, there's actually arcs in the series, but you don't really know
the Viltrumite War. Yeah. You have,
and that, you know what I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and what I like about certain comics like that is that they'll let you know, like, Viltrumite War.
Even The Boys does it. Especially now that they're adapting it, they've kind of went back and cleaned up the comics. Yeah. So that's really nice. So they're making it more entry friendly for that.
So I wish Comixology did that to where, like, okay, you know, here's put up in sections, boom, 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 boom.
Here's Web of Shadows. Here's Spider-Geddon. Here's, you know, Into the Spider-Verse. Here's, you know, shit like that.
Like here's each arc, boom, 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 boom. Because like even like
Spider-Man No More.
Because Invincible is a great example. Because like just like different, because I think Robert Kirkman actually arced some of his stuff. Like, you can actually go online and look up, like, different arcs from, like...
He also kind of dicked over the fucking co-writer.
Yeah. We love Robert Kirkman. He's human. He has his flaws. He'll be, you know... But shit like that. Even, like, Deadly Class. Deadly Class has... Rick Reminder. He puts his stories and arcs. Saga, I guess, sort of. But, I mean,
early on it did.
Yeah. But, you know what I mean? Saying, like... But the thing is, tying back into Comixology...
Having recently read.
Yeah. We really wish that they made it easier to...
You're still the reason I bought that $70 comic.
You're welcome. Made it easier to Because it actually was easier. Because back when I started getting into Witchblade. I don't know
Oh
if you guys,
God!
I don't know if you guys were reading Witchblade. I read the first volume. Witchblade.
Did you ever play the video game for that?
No, I have not.
Oh my God! It is one of the dumbest fucking things.
I actually love Witchblade, by the way. The first volume got me hooked, and I'm on the second volume. And what made me so proud as a new comic fan, going through Comixology and literally window shopping every volume that I had to read in order to read the entire franchise, made me feel so good. Because Witchblade, I was so confused, but I was like, okay.
Didn't it tie in with the darkness?
Yeah, but the darkness came out of Witchblade, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, and that's the thing that makes me so great is about Comixology.
See, the darkness was a great game. Witchblade is one of those games that had a 3 gamer score achievement.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I fucking hate it. That as an achievement hunter, that is one of my biggest flaws. Is like games like Mad Max and Witchblade had those odd fucking achievement point gamer score. So I had a 3 gamer score achievement from Witchblade from way back in like 2006, and then fucking I played Mad Max and it had a 2 gamer score achievement. I'm like, I'm finally back in a sane number. I have a 5 again.
Yeah. So I like. That's the biggest thing I miss from old Comixology. It was easier to. I got so good at like.
That's like a first world problem 101.
Yeah, pinning. I got so good pinpointing where volume because that was the best thing about Comixology was I could pinpoint where I could and especially coming from reading comics only from piracy to legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was able to fully understand, okay, so after I read this volume, I have to read this issue, and then I can read this volume. Because, like, volumes are like volumes in manga. Like, 4 or 5, depending on how long the volume is, like, usually like, 6 issues, like, in one volume. And that made it easier.
And depending on, like, how often that series gets released, like, it could be year 1, year 2, year 3, or it could be, like, a quarterly volume. Because that's like, how Deadpool was fucking hella quarterly.
Because that's how I read Monstrous. Because when I went from... Cause I read Monstrous on Read Comics Only. But when I wanted to shift to Comixology, I had to look at where I left off from Monstrous when it comes to the issue. All I do was just go to each volume and find that issue number. And that's where I left off at. And boom, I have to buy that volume. I continue from there. And that's what I loved. Because I was like, okay, I left off at issue 12. Okay, let me go in Comixology and see what volume has issue 12 in it. Oh, volume 6, whatever. Boom. I can start from volume 6 because I already read everything prior, and then go from there.
And it's so convenient.
Yeah, and now not convenient no more. Shit.
Like you can just see over here on the other screen, viewers you can't, but like I have shit for like Radiant Black 16, Saga number 60, etc., 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 all pre-ordered. And this is from back when you could pre-order within the app, because I set up like most of my monthlies and yearlies and shit that way.
I started to pre-order. I need to catch up on Monstrous, but once I catch up on Monstrous, I'm gonna pre-order the issues. But
yeah, well, you have to go to like Amazon to do that now.
Yeah, fuck.
But like no, like I understand. I talked about this a bit in the previous recording. That kind of got all audio funky. Is like a lot of it has to do with licensing and avoiding scams. Amazon has their own like promises for like day one and shit like that. Pre-order price guarantee, etc., etc., etc. They have their own protections in there, and stuff like the Amazon Prime Video and stuff like that. You have to go on their website for that. For example, when Power Rangers got taken off of Netflix, I went through and I bought a bunch of the seasons on Prime Video. I couldn't do it through the fucking app. I had to go to their website to do it.
And their website's so bad. It's so badly laid out. Like, look at this shit. Like, it's so fucking confusing. It's like one of those old school MySpace fucking websites.
And the only thing that's missing right now is the copyrighted music.
Yeah, and like the fucking shit. Well, you already got your ads right there, but it's just like, I just don't understand like where the thought process comes from. The comic was fine the way it was, like, and like I don't understand like even for me, I'm just now getting into Transformers comics, and luckily IDW made it so easy to follow the storyline of the canonical. For
the most part.
Yeah, I mean, because like literally, I read through the volume, the first volume. It was like this follow, like it literally the author note was like follow the volumes like this. This is like the canonical best way we recommend to read Transformers comics. I'm like cool, and And
they did that in the volumes. Try reading that shit monthly. Because I did for a while.
I won't, because I'm waiting.
I did that for, like, when I was a teenager, because I loved Transformers. And it's like, here's Transformers. Here's Transformers versus, like, Men in Black. Here's Transformers RC.
Gotta milk what you got, man.
Here's, like, I'm like, this is too much.
Listen, IDW likes to milk Sonic, My Little Pony, TMNT, and Transformers. Oh, I guess G.I. Joe as well, but I mean, shit.
G.I. Joe can suck my dick.
But it's just like, you have...
I got so fucking burned out on those comics when they made a series for every fucking Joe.
Ah, yes. Snake Eyes is overrated. Fight me.
Here's G.I. Joe Storm Shadow. Dude, fucking Snake Eyes. Here's fucking, what's her name? Fucking Cobras. The Baroness. That bitch. Destro. Like, they all had their own comics originally. And I'm like, why though?
That's probably so confusing too as a new comic fan.
And none of them tied into the overarching stories. They were like fucking one-shots. They were
so
fucking glorified one-shots. The only ones that ended up mattering in the overarching plot were the Duke and the fucking Snake Eyes.
It's funny too because TMNT did that too. I actually read the original one-shots for each individual stories for all four of TMNT, but at least they integrated into the actual story.
Right.
Arc. But I was just so confused. I was just like. Because they actually mentioned, because a lot of characters got introduced in those one-shots.
Right.
Like Apolex got introduced in the one-shot. Like the science guy that Donatello's friends with, he was introduced in the one-shot.
Right.
Like
didn't the robot get introduced?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I think he got introduced in the Leo one, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, because the Leo one was him fighting. I mean, they always try to make Leo some fucking, like... That's a different video. My issues with Leonardo as a character, he's not awful, but for some reason every installment try to make him like the Batman. Not really the Batman, like the fucking like messiah of the franchise.
Well,
like,
he's meant to be the leader for a reason.
Yeah, but I mean, come on now, like that's like
Mikey carries the franchise.
He does. Like they milk Leonardo as much as they milk like Superman, Batman, fucking like I'm pretty sure as Power Rangers fan, like Tommy and shit. Like
I'm so glad that he said I'm done with Power Rangers finally. Jason David Frank is done with Power Rangers.
Like it's just
he's like, I've done it for 30 years, guys. There's no need for me to come back for another reunion.
Like they milk Leonardo's character too much. But anyways, back to shitting on Comixology. I just can't like.
I hope this isn't a permanent change, but it probably will be.
I'm happy I was getting into Transformers before this happened because like I'm really happy that for better or worse they made it easier for me to be able to get into the Transformers comics. Now I know chronology what I have to do, and like even with I have to go back and see because there's a lot of comics that I was reading, and now I'm getting more accustomed to the comic industry. I know what I have to do to. Because there's even like a series like Rat Queens that I like. I read those volumes, and then I go to like the issues and all that, and then I read that. You know, I'm starting to understand where I can start for certain comics that I like. Image or Die, by the way. And then like because maybe if I want to get into like more Dark Horse stuff, because from Dark Horse I like Hellboy and Empowered. I need to get back into reading Empowered, but when it comes to Hellboy is very weird because Mike Mignola likes making a lot of short stories with Hellboy, and like those short
and like shit like
those
that.
short stories are all integrated into one lore because like a lot of his short stories will be mentioned, and like I know Abe got his own side story. Liz needs one too. Like I don't know why the fuck Liz doesn't get one, but whatever.
She doesn't really get a lot of focus.
She needs to. Like, they literally took her powers away and then they gave it back to her. Like what the fuck? They literally like she lost her powers to like a fucking android. The android died, and then they gave her back her powers. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's like Hellboy.
Mike's weird like that though. I respect the fuck out of what he does with that story because he keeps it fresh.
Yeah. The way he writes Hellboy though is very, very confusing. Like it's just like a bunch of short stories, and like it's hard to, and even on the app. That's why like I might want to continue reading Hellboy read comics online because on the Comixology app it's very hard to follow like Hellboy's story. I know I borrowed one Hellboy volume, but I have to find out where I left off, what short story I left off at. Because I think I was like volume or issue like 5 or 6. I don't know because like each issue is like a individual story that has an overarching like plot and shit. And the Hellboy comics are really good,
Oh,
very
yeah.
good. It's just I need more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I think comics have. The issue is accessibility. I think that's why webtoons and manga are beating it out, or will eventually beat it out, is because
It pretty much already has at this point.
it's a lot easier to get into webtoons and manga compared to comics. Like if you really want to get into comics, it'll take you some time, but you'll get used to it. Me, I still consider myself a new. I've been reading comics now. I could say for like 2 years now. So I wouldn't say I'm a new comic fan anymore. But even as someone like me, it took me a while to finally get accustomed to the industry, and Comixology helped me with that because they made it easier for you to follow storylines and shit. But I think for
accessibility's sake now, it's kind of ruined.
Yeah, and like I said, like for me, I'm very passionate about the stuff that I read. I'm a avid reader. I don't give a fuck about reading novels. Like I don't care.
Right.
It's called graphic novels for a reason. So like for me. I actually, even reading light novels, I was reading light novels. One of my favorites to read was my entire class got summoned to another world. I love reading that. I was reading that shit on the app religiously. You know, I want to read Data Live, shit like that. So getting into a new industry is always exciting for me because it's hard, but it's very, once you figure out
like I said, like even from anime adaptation to light novel, for example, like Konosuba we thought was never going to get another season.
Yeah, shocking, by the way. Shocking. I heard rumor that the author was like, I only want 3 seasons and I'm done, but shit, that was a fucking lie.
Yeah, and then now we have another season of that. So, like, a lot of people transition to the light novel. And, like, I've said for years, like, the light novels are leagues better than the anime adaptation of SAO. Because they fucking fan service the hell out of it. Yeah. A1 Studios did. So...
How do you have a harem and you already have a love interest? Fucking dumb.
Well, I mean, that's still part of the light novels, but it's...
Dumb!
It is. Reki has become self-aware of, like, how dumb that is. So I give him character growth. He was a fucking teenager when he started writing it, so...
Yeah, canonically had a sex scene, and that was canon.
It was fanfic that was made canon by the author.
Just because he wanted some sexy time with a Kirito and Asuna.
Yeah, I will never forget that. That is so fucking funny. But, like, Reki just kind of went into this, like, yeah, I know this is cringe. I don't use certain plot elements anymore, and I've grown as an author since I was a fucking teenager. And, you know, we all did shit and wrote shit and said shit when we were teenagers that we vehemently regret now. Like, I look at my old Facebook posts, and I'm like, oh, God.
I know, I'm thinking my old Facebook posts.
Like, you trying to rap, and...
Yeah, so, but it's like...
me being edgy emo. It's like...
I think that's the biggest issue with the industry right now is accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, and because Marvel and DC are still dominant when it comes to newcomers in the industry. So, and like most of the stuff people want to read, Spider-Man, X-Men, Superman, Flash.
And think how long X-Men was away for.
Yeah, and it's just like you don't know where to start because even my friends were telling me like you don't want to start with Spider-Man because you'll be so lost. Like Spider-Man is so deep into the hole that like you don't know where to.
But there's so many like storylines where you can jump in, but it's also one of those ones like they are right. Like you could read one line and you're like, well, this character came back from like 17 fucking years ago.
Yeah, because you don't. The one thing about being a comic reader, you don't want to be confused. You know, you want to. It feels good to be able to follow the story and understand everything. Because the one thing about me, I see all these comic panels everywhere. I'm just like, that looks cool. That storyline looks cool. But to read that storyline, you have to like go back and read some other stuff. And it's just like I think like we were talking about with the story arcs. It's hard to know what arcs overarch what and everything like that compared to like manga or webtoons where arcs are just more coherent. And I think that's the biggest...
Well, they're more self-contained too. Like you'll have like a character that loses a limb, for example, and it stays throughout the rest of the plot, but you won't really have it take over too much of the plot.
Yeah, and the thing is about that, I like that example because like you'll know what arc he lost that limb in. So if you like know you skipped an arc, you're like, wait a minute, he didn't have this limb in this arc. That means I either skipped an arc by accident or I misread something. You know what I mean? And the comics don't really do that. And like Comixology made it easier for you to integrate into that, and That's the reason why I'm reading Transformers shit now. But now the app is just kind of dead, especially since you can't fucking buy comics on that shit anymore. So it's just kind of like, if you already didn't subscribe to what you wanted to subscribe to, you're kind of fucked.
Yep.
That's why I'm honestly just thinking about subscribing to Monstrous Radiant Red right now before this shit hits, because I don't know when the update drops. Maybe it's already dropped, I'm not sure. But,
I got the like pop up like I can't buy shit already.
oh, okay. Well then, shit. I'll have to probably go online and shit, because there's still a lot of comics on there that I really want to read. But I think accessibility was one of the main reasons why Comixology was so good, because I think, and that's just like I'm saying, it's the main reason why webtoons and manga are sort of dominant right now when it comes to the comic scene. Is because like they're easy to get into. Like if you really are really like passionate about comics like we are, you're going to take the time and figure out the industry and learning how to read comics. And I'm happy I did, because some of the best stories I've written have been American comics, like Rick Reminder, Donny Cates, and like a bunch of others.
I know it's a controversial pick, but I love Scotty Young's art.
Yeah, like they like Rick Reminder is probably one of my favorite authors. I've read like Deadly Class and Black Science. Easily some of the best comics I've read so far.
Like the Miles Morales and the Spider-Gwen pillows are all Scotty Young art.
Oh yeah, that's great. You know, and it's just like Rick Reminder, you know, Donny Cates. I love, from what I read of his Venom. I'm loving crossover. I want to read God Country. You know, like,
Country's a fucking trip.
Yeah, like Kyle Higgins, I love his stuff, man. Radiant Black, phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Ryan Parrott.
Brian, author of Saga. I don't know what else he wrote, but like Saga.
Brian K. Vaughan. He wrote Why the Last Man, I believe, which unfortunately didn't get a very good adaptation on Hulu.
Okay.
It was like last year they didn't know if it was going to carry on or not, but yeah, it didn't.
Yeah, like a lot of the
but
writers, you know,
a lot of his stuff doesn't really adapt well. That's why
he probably didn't want Saga to get adapted to.
Right.
I think that's his magnum opus. I think that's probably what he's most famous for.
But that's why I was kind of originally hesitant for like Neil Gaiman's Sandman to get an adaptation, because it's something that's been fought for so long, is unadaptable, because it's so overarching and it touches into so much of the DC mythos and everything, and you know, copyright nightmare for DC.
Yep.
But everything I've seen has had me so fucking hyped. That's why I can't wait for Netflix Geeked, because the release date comes out of that, and that is legitimately one of my favorite pieces of fiction ever written, is the Sandman Universe. And that's one thing I will forever recommend to anyone, because it touches on so many issues that were considered taboo back then, like in the 80s, the 90s. Like, you had one of the first canonically trans characters, you had one of the first canonically gay characters come out of it. And it's really, he has always been one to push the boundaries of the comics industry.
Yeah.
So definitely, like, especially like right now during Pride Month, go read Sandman, like 100%. It's very, very easily accessible on any service, both legitimate and on the 7 Seas.
Yeah, that's why, and that's the thing I want to talk about final thoughts here before we end off.
Because we're hitting like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I did like how Comixology made it easier to get into. You know how big I am into knowing who I'm reading, whose work I'm reading. So like, Rick Reminder is probably one of my favorite authors for sure. Donny Cates, you know, and Comixology made it do that. But I honestly, I don't really know. I probably won't stop using the app, because I spent so much money on the app already. So
and especially for like review purposes for us. It'll stay.
Because I could read. I would like read comics online. The only issue is I don't really know the release dates of comics. It's kind of hard to follow, especially if you don't know what publisher they're a part of. So
or if something gets pushed back. That's one thing I really like about Comixology still, is like it'll give you an alert like, hey, the release date for this has changed.
Because I've gotten that too for a bunch of the comics of this month. I think Rogue Sun got pushed back. I think
Rogue Sun and Radiant Black both got pushed back.
They got pushed back. So that was that's a good thing. I really hope they fix the app, man. But shit, I mean, there's no really other it sucks because there's no competition for Comixology right now.
Yep.
And that's the biggest thing, is that when there's no competition.
If there is competition and we're just fucking idiots, let us know.
Please let us know. Please let us know. Please let us know.
Something that isn't piracy.
Yeah, because we definitely like to support the official release. We definitely want to support these hardworking authors and artists who are putting all their hard work into their comics. It's just when you have a company like Bezos's that tries to take advantage of the consumer, it's hard to and there are a lot of shitty ass apps out there when it comes to like
reading manga, reading
comics,
comics,
shit like that.
like
so,
Manga Zone, for example.
Because I want after we're done with this, I have to talk to you about Webtoon. Because I heard Webtoon's doing some fuck shit too when it comes to their creators, and I have to do more research. We have to do more research on that because I follow a Webtoon Reddit, and people have been exposing Webtoon for some scummy practices they've been doing. Because they've been doing some Shonen Jump level of axing shit for Webtoons as well. But that's a video for another time, of course. But let us know, please, because we definitely want to continue using these apps. But if there's no competition, they can do whatever the fuck they want because they know we have no choice.
It's like Netflix back in the day.
Yeah, if you either go piracy or suck it up and do what you have to do. But shit.
Yeah, I guess that's peace.
Yeah, peace.